You can start whenever you're ready.
Good morning, New Year. 212th meeting of Audit Committee, Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. Roll call by the chair, please.
All right, we will note Trustee Wilson is going to be absent today. We have Trustees Fair and Nikozison online and Trustees Evans, Wabi, and Watson in person.
Approval of committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Comments by the chair. Audit, your time.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. So I want to take a few minutes to go over the status of previously issued recommendations, kind of what's happened with them. Did they get completed? If not, what's the plan to get them completed? So we're going to use this presentation that you guys should have, and it's up on the board there as well. So if you move to slide 2, the overall, that's a slide of the overall internal audit cycle. I have shown this to you guys before. So basically, we're auditing throughout the year. Look in the left-hand corner up there, you see we normally do the annual risk assessment in the April-May timeframe. And then we issue an audit plan for you guys to look at in usually June or July. Now, the audit plans, a lot of times they overlap. We're finishing one up as we're doing another one, finishing the engagements up. Look down the right-hand corner, you see normally we perform follow-up procedures on the recommendations that we issue, make sure the recommendations are being completed. So that's basically what I'm doing today. I'm doing a report on the follow-up. So we're going to probably be doing that every December. I think I'm going to sell on that month. I like doing it with a calendar year. And so move to slide 3. Now, since April of 2011, we have issued 268 recommendations. 253 of those have been completed. So we're at about a 94% completion rate. We've been around 9% since 2015. So the process owners really have done a good job of following through with their action plans. We do have 15 recommendations that remain open as of 12/31. The start of the year, we had 16 open. We added 16 new ones during the year, and the process owners implemented 17, which leaves us with the 15 that I mentioned. So if we move to slide 4 there, you see some charts. Shows the spread across the different areas. A lot of this some of this can be attributed to the recentness of the audits. For instance, operations has 6 items. 4 of those items belong to the safety audit, which we just presented to you guys last month. So that's a recent audit. So if you would move on to slide 5, and I'm going to provide a status update of the 15 open items and where they stand. Slide 5. So these are listed in alphabetical order by department, just so you know. So our engineering has 1 open item. That belongs to the process review of the DEC, the industrial retreatment audit that we did. We issued that in August 2022. That has 1 item open. It has to do with the review and recalculation of reduction factors or return factors. To refresh your memory, that is where we reduce the bill for non-sewered water. So DEC calculates that factor. And they were behind on meeting the 10-year review recalculation requirement. That's an internal requirement. So they are making progress and are on track to getting those caught up. It's going to take a year or 2, but they're on track for that. So they're all looking at some other procedures that might speed this process up, but they're still evaluating. So I don't want to get ahead of the game, though, but they just want to let you know they are thinking outside the box a little bit to improve this process. So any questions on that? Slide 6, executive management. They have 3 items that are open. First one belongs to the fraud risk assessment, which we issued in March 2019. We had 6 items originally. We have 1 item open. That's around the fraud awareness and prevention program. This is kind of duplicated in the management audit, so we're kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone on this one. So internal audit's going to get involved with this one. We're going to actually draft our fraud awareness prevention and then also a business conduct line policy. We're going to have those done by, let's just say 3/31/2023. We're going to have those drafted by then. and then management will review and approve them and ultimately publish them. Target date for publishing would be June 30th. We're also going to work with HR on developing some training, some online training for these areas, as well as public affairs to create some additional messaging on the digital boards that are up around the district to address this area. Any questions? Public affairs is the next area. There's one open item related to public affairs. That's around the development and publishing of formal communication plan for crisis situations. There is a plan in draft, but management was waiting to coordinate this with some other internal efforts. So I talked with Brian and Sean Hadley. They're going to put together an interim document that can be published temporarily for now, and then that will be incorporated into some other efforts. So we'll have that interim document done by the end of this first quarter. We'll verify that. Next item is disaster recovery, business continuity. We had two items originally on that item, that audit. One item is still open. That's a review. We issued that in May of 2022, so that's a recent one. The review and update of emergency operations plan, the EOP, that had not been updated since 2018. They expect to have that review and updated by the end of this first quarter. Just to refresh your memory, the procedures in the plan are materially correct. It's just mainly the resources, the names of employees, contacts, vendors, and so forth that really need some updates. Any questions? Slide 7, IT, information technology. They have 4 items. First item being application database account management. We had 4 items originally. We have 1 item open now. The first item revolves around established logging procedures. Refresh your memory what that means. Logging is a mechanism that is used within systems to track activities within or between the systems. It's a good way of identifying and preventing suspicious activities, but historically it can cause performance issues. So there's things like events logs, transaction logs. So the logging was enabled on both systems, but again, they had some performance issues again. So the Oracle side of it is going to be addressed with the migration to the cloud platform in the next 4 to 6 months. IT is working with a support vendor to resolve the Maximal side of things. As I understand it, we should not be experiencing these problems, but the vendor is going to work with IT to help them to try to figure out what's going on. Next item is service desk. That's an audit we did in March 2021. We issued 4 items. 1 item remains open. This remaining item is partially implemented. Has to do with the monitoring of compliance with ticket target resolution times. They have made some improvements. They're using reports and KPIs or key performance identifier or indicators to track and improve the resolution times. So they have to make some significant improvements in progress. But ultimately, they're going to use, there's a dashboard capability that the service manager's desk system has that they're going to implement. I think that will really put them where they want to be. And they'll really be able to track things well once they get that desktop intelligence implemented. So we'll follow up with them probably later in the year by 6:30. Any questions there? Third item is network vulnerability, attack penetration. That's the one that we did in 2021. Remember, we're doing these every year, these attack penetration audits. This had to do with what they call segmentation. And what segmentation is where, think of the network, is where you divide the network into multiple segments or subnets. And just by doing that, it provides additional security. Kind of think of your backyard. You got it fenced in. This would be like if you put fences up and down and across and up and down the yard to divide it in little sections. It provides extra security. But often, this is a very tedious process. Often the network architecture doesn't meet the needs of segmentation. So it's a slow process. So they've done a lot of work. It's improved over the last 3 or 4 years every time we looked at it. So they're going to take a couple more steps they need to complete this. They're going to implement a micro-segmentation tool, which is more granular. It really gets in the weeds and does more. It's more specific. I hope to have that done by February 23, and then also add some Cisco ISC network access some systems there. So that's going to improve security as well. So we'll follow up with them during the year. Any questions? Slide 8, network vulnerability, check and penetration. Again, we're doing this audit every year. So this is the one we did in 2022. What we found, we had 2 items that we issued, one remains open. We found one specific server in which it supported what we call weak encryption methodology. Basically, think of it as a door in your house. The lock on the door is easily picked. It's not a very good lock. So the lock on this server is not very good. So in order to improve that, they disabled what they call FTPS protocol, which stands for File Transport Protocol Secure. Basically, that protocol is outdated. So they've disabled that, and then they also closed a port, or they blocked a port that from the internet to the server. So port 21 was also enabling or used very weak encryption methodologies, as they cut that off from the internet. So they're awaiting a vendor upgrade to completely close this issue out, so that will take care of this issue when they do that. So again, we'll follow up on that part of it later in the year. Any questions? Next item is legal. We did a process review of legal department back in July 2019. We had 2 items. One item remains open. It is around the storage of open matter files and historical documents. Now, they've made a lot of improvements in this area. There's just the last part they need to finish. They've made several solid steps have been taken. They digitized many of the documents. They utilize protective containers. They increase the use of offsite storage. And it also digitized and scanned a lot of references. So what really remains is some of these older documents, historical documents that they need to digitize and scan. So they're in the process of working with the IG manager to obtain a new vendor to complete this process. Hopefully this will be completed during this year. I think COVID really kind of slowed this process up. So any questions on that? Last page, slide 9, operations. We have 6 items. As I mentioned, 4 of those belong to safety. And we just issued that last month. I'm not going to talk about those items right now. So we know what those were. Review of plant pumps. So the one item I do want to talk about was a review of a plant pump station systems, the cybersecurity audit that we did in 2019. We had 3 items. 2 of those remain open. So the first item is around limiting internet exposure to the plant pump station systems. So what we want to see is those systems separated from the business networks. So theoretically, if somebody comes from the internet, and they can get into our business network from the internet. Theoretically, they can move from the business network over to our plant pump station system. So we want to put a barrier or a separation there between those 2 systems. That's basically the basic idea. So they've been working on this last few years, and they're pretty close to getting it finished. It's a very tedious process. It's a very methodical process. We hope to have this completed by the end of the quarter. We are doing another audit in this area this spring, so we will report back to you guys on this area. We'll have a lot more information on it then. And we'll try to assist them if we can, any way we can, to help this, get this process completed. So, and the last item under that audit is a disaster recovery plan. There is a drafting process, and they hope to have that plan finished and finalized by the end of the year. They lost some personnel in this area, so I think that slowed that part of the process up. So they expect to hire some new personnel soon, and that's going to be one of their priorities to get that done. So, any questions, guys? That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Todd.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you, Todd. Next meeting, tentative date, January 31st, 2023. Meeting adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Nicholas, and we'll let you know when we're ready. Nicholasison, we're ready when you are.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 237th meeting of the Program Management Committee, Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. Can I get a roll call?
Yep, the record will note that trustee Wilson is absent this morning. Trustees Fair and Nicholasison are present online, and trustees Evans, Wabi, and Watson are present in the room.
Thank you. Can I get approval of the committee minutes for November 29th, 2022?
So move.
Second.
There are no comments by the chair, and we have engineering department agenda items.
Good morning, trustees, and Happy New Year. First item that you'll see next Thursday on the agenda is the CSO Volume Reduction Green Infrastructure Grant for Love Bank Park. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter into agreement with Cherokee Street Community Improvement District, provide financial assistance through the Green Infrastructure Grant Program for the construction of green infrastructure. The purpose of the project is to reduce combined sewer overflows to the Mississippi River per the long-term control plan and the consent decree. This project will reduce runoff volume with the installation of amended soils, permeable asphalt, and permeable pavements in the Love Bank Park. The total cost of this project is estimated at $265,000, and the Cherokee Street Community Improvement District is requesting $265,000 reimbursement. In your packet, you'll find a map showing the location of the Love Bank Park. It is near the intersection of Nebraska and Cherokee in South St. Louis City. And as you can see there, there'll be quite a bit of green infrastructure to capture the water currently in the park. If there are no questions, we'll move on to a series of construction projects that were bid this past month. First one was the Webster Groves Trunk E Sanitary Rehabilitation and I&I Reduction Phase 4, Part 3. This appropriates funds and authorized staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 430 linear feet of 12-inch diameter storm pipe and the removal of inflow sources from 18 individual properties. This construction is the fourth phase of a multi-phase improvement program. The purpose of this project is to reduce inflow and infiltration in the Deer Creek watershed. The district received 7 bids on this project. The low bid was from Tailor Made Construction. The bid was below our design estimate, and our appropriation of $475,000 is below the budget, basically due to an overall reduction in the scope of the project. It ended up being about a third of what we originally planned. As MBE participation, Tailor Made is committed to 17.42% African American participation, which exceeds the 17% goal on the project. Next item is the Glenfield Sanitary Relief Project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 2,400 linear feet of sanitary sewers from 8 to 12 inches in diameter. The purpose of the project is to alleviate wet weather surcharging of the sanitary sewer and reduce building backups in the area. The district received 8 bids on this project. The low bid was from Understall Contracting. The bid is slightly above the designer's estimate, and our appropriation of $1,275,000, which includes $100,000 for utility relocation and contingencies, is slightly above the original budget for the project. MBE participation, Understall is committed to 17.18% African American participation, which exceeds the 17% goal. Next item is the pump station fall protection upgrades, Phase 1. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. And I would note we indicate this being a consent decree project, but it is not a consent decree project. It's an asset improvement project for our operations group. The work to be done consists of the construction of new anchor points for existing fall protection equipment and replacement of equipment hatches with new hatches furnished with secondary safety grading. This construction is the first phase of a multi-phase improvement project. The purpose of this project is to improve safety and provide fall protection for MSD employees at our various pump stations throughout the district. The district received 3 bids for this work. The low bid was from Bates Utility Company. The bid was below our design estimate, and our appropriation of $480,000 is just below the initial budget for the project. Bates Utilities is committed to 17.02% African American participation, which exceeds the 17% goal. Next item is the Bouquet Drive, Mark Drive, and Monaco Drive storm sewer. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into construction contract. The work to be done consists of the construction of approximately 58 linear feet of storm sewer, 12 inches in diameter, and the purpose of this project is to alleviate backyard floodings at 534, 542, 541, and 533 Bouquet Drive. The district received 5 bids for this project. The low bid was from Understall Contracting. The bid was below our designer's estimate, and our appropriation of $140,000 is below the original budget. We did reduce the scope of this project somewhat, thus the lower bids and under the estimate. The total MBE participation committed by Understall is 17.03%, which is above the 17% goal for the project. The next item is the Jefferson Barracks Tunnel Consolidation Sewer. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of approximately 2,200 linear feet, varying in size from 8 to 36 inch in diameter. The purpose of this project is to convey flow from the collection systems to the new Jefferson Barracks Tunnel. The district received 4 bids on this project. The low bid was from Bates Utilities. The bids and the appropriation for the project are both significantly above the budget and the design estimate. The designer, after speaking with the contractors, and I'll talk about the appropriation here in a minute, the designer had not taken into consideration some of the risk. The project has most of the excavation is in the 30 to 40 feet deep range, adjacent to utilities and Coke Road. And we used our standard prices with some escalation for the price materials. After speaking with the contractors, we received 3 bids, very close in proximity. In fact, the second bid was only 0.3% above the low bid. The district evaluated the bids and saw and made the determination we feel like it's appropriate to go ahead and proceed. Our appropriation amount is $4.8 million, and our budget was $3.4. The designer's estimate on the project was $2.13. We did discuss the possibility of even delaying the project, but we felt with the 3 bids we did receive that were so close in proximity that waiting another 6 months probably wouldn't change it much. And secondly, as you're aware, the overall Jefferson Barracks project is behind schedule because of the issues we had with the tunnel, so we want to go ahead and get these consolidation sewers started. On a better note, the Jefferson Barracks tunnel was complete, if you saw possibly on social media. The tunnel did hole out at its destination down along Coke Road. Now we'll start sleeving pipe, and then later, within a couple of months, you'll see we'll be bidding out the pump station that'll drain this tunnel. So progress is being made, and there were some additional caverns and unstable soil we did encounter, but we're able to handle it with the new tunnel machine that we did get. So we will be coming back to the board with a full report on that project. As far as MBE participation on the project, Bates Utility is committed to 17.01% participation. Are there any questions? All right. Next item is stormwater infrastructure repairs. This is our annual appropriation for small stormwater infrastructure repair works. We bid through our purchasing division and our small contractor program. The work to be done consists of the repair, replacement, and construction of stormwater inlets, manhole sewers, and other infrastructure identified by the operation and engineering department at various locations throughout the districts. This appropriation of $4 million will address stormwater projects as they are identified and will be hired through the rules of purchasing. Just some statistics for last year's money, which was at $4 million last year in fiscal year 23 or 22. We had 180 work orders for a total of $2,073 for an average of $11,850 that was issued to our small contractor program. There were a total of, by my numbers here, on the MWB participation on the small contractor program, 42% of the dollars went to minority and women contractors in the small program, and as total work orders, 41% went to minority and women contractors. And then there were a total of 17 projects that were bid that were over $50,000 and went through our normal bidding process for a total of $3,664,000. One of those projects was a very large project at 1.7. Those projects are required to meet our minority and women 17% goal in those types of projects. Are there any questions? All right. The next project is the Jefferson Barracks Tunnel Consolidation Sewers, and this action appropriates additional funds to amend our design contract. And this is to have the engineer on board to review a lot of the documents that will come in from the contractor, including shoring plans. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter to Amendment 41 with Jacobs Engineering for the design of the Jefferson Barracks Tunnel Consolidation Sewers as part of the overall watershed consultant services for the lower and middle river repair improvement project. This first year post-design services include construction of the Jefferson Barracks Tunnel Consolidation. It's a lump sum for the design. The overall project is 5,700 feet of 8 to 36-inch sewers and the rehabilitation of 2,800 feet of sewers 30 to 36-inch diameter. The purpose of this project is to convey flow from the collection system into the Jefferson Barracks Tunnel. The overall construction cost estimate was $2.1 million. Talked about that earlier. This project is the appropriation of $65,000 is proposed design construction is $35,000 below what we had in the budget for the project. There will be future appropriation as the work continues each year on this project. This next item is an introduction and adoption. I actually brought this project to you last month, but we found an error in where the funds were going to be coming from. So rather than have you vote on it, we went ahead and pulled it from the agenda at the meeting, and I'm bringing this back to you. And the reason I'm asking for introduction and adoption, I'll explain in just a moment. It's a general service agreement for sewer and channel design contract A. It appropriates additional funds and authorizes staff to amend a design contract. It authorizes the amendment number 2 with HR Green for the design of various projects. This project consists of the design of small sanitary, combined, and stormwater projects as needed throughout the district to support our internal design efforts. Projects will be issued by letter agreement per individual scope of work. The contract amendment is for a total of $200,000, and this is the only renewal, so it's the first renewal and the last renewal, making a total project cost of $400,000 for the design of these projects. Just lower, originally we had $100,000 coming out of sanitary funds and $100,000 coming out of stormwater. We made an adjustment because there's more of the projects that they'll be doing are out of the stormwater fund. That was the change I made from last month. The project was originally planned for introduction. The reason I'm asking for introduction and adoption is the very first thing our consultant will do will go out and do survey work on some projects we have planned for it. And doing the survey work in the spring prior to all the green coming back out makes the work go a lot easier and a lot faster. So if I went another month, we'd be into getting those surveys started in March and April, which would delay some of those surveys. So we want to get that survey work started. That's why we're asking for the introduction and adoption. All right, the next two are stormwater reimbursement through our municipal grant program. First one is the Deer Creek OMCI reimbursement for the city of Rock Hill. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Rock Hill for eligible stormwater expenditures for revenue collected within the Deer Creek OMCI. Eligible stormwater expenditures include the following: storm sewer and inlet construction, drainage improvements, stream bank stabilization and erosion control projects, clearing under bridges, cleaning detention basins, stormwater planning or engineering costs, or other stormwater related expenses that are deemed appropriate by the district. The city of Rock Hill is doing their North Rock Hill Storm Improvement Project. The city will construct a storm improvement along North Rock Hill to alleviate some flooding concerns. The estimated cost of the stormwater portion of this project is $47,679, and this reimbursement will provide for the reimbursement of that $47,679. These funds will come from our overall Deer Creek reimbursement program appropriation for the fiscal year, which was a total of $1,537,000. Rock Hill's portion of that was the $47,679. Are there any questions? Next item is also in the Deer Creek. It's a reimbursement for the city of Frontenac, and it authorizes the staff to enter into agreement with the city of Frontenac for eligible stormwater expenses within the Deer Creek OMCI. I won't repeat the eligible stormwater expenses. The city of Frontenac is constructing the Countryside Lane Stormwater Improvement Project. The city will contract for engineering services and construction to address several flooding concerns within the Countryside subdivision. The estimated cost of the project is $400,000. This agreement provides for the reimbursement of up to $122,518. Again, this is coming from our Deer Creek reimbursement previously made by the board for the $1,563,000. And Frontenac will be utilizing their portion, which is $122,518. All right, the next item is for real property acquisition services. Authorize the staff to enter into a contract. The contract will be for a period of 1 year with 2 possible one-option years and to be extended with further written approval by the district. This ordinance authorizes staff to enter into a contract with OR LLC for real property acquisition services. The acquisition services will be provided on an as-needed basis as required to purchase real property and the associated residential relocation as necessary. Work will be assigned on a project-by-project basis. No appropriations are necessary on this ordinance. The cost for the acquisition services come from our annual appropriation for easement and property acquisition. The district received 2 proposals for this work, and OR was a selected firm. The district periodically has to acquire properties either for a large sanitary project in lieu of getting an easement, and potentially in stormwater where it's more cost effective for us to buy the property versus constructing a needed improvement. This provides us a professional service for doing that. Oracle has provided that service in years past. They know all the federal guidelines for these purchases and have done a good job over the years. All right, the last item is a resolution for the infiltration and inflow cost allocation services. This resolution authorized the district to exercise option year 2 of an existing contract with Stantec Consulting Services. This project will update the inflow and infiltration cost allocation study report that will utilize in the rate proposal for 2023 that will be presented to the rate commission in the next several months. This project is mostly include the technical support from Stantec during the rate commission proceedings. The contract values for $300,000. This proposed resolution again is the second of 3 option years. The actual study has been complete. It will be presented to the rate commission next month, and they'll be available for expert testimony during the rate commission proceedings. No, there are no further questions. That concludes the engineering department items.
Hey, Rich, real quick, can we go back to that OR colon?
Sure.
Who else, so Volker bid on that as well?
They did. We treat it as a professional service. We look at cost plus their experience at the work. I'll be honest with you, I'd have to provide you with more information. That's about the extent that I know. Do you want me to get you some more information? I'll be happy to do that.
No.
Trustee Nichols, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Rich. There'll be no other business. Next tentative meeting date is January 31st, 2023. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Trustee Fair will let you know when we're ready to go. Trustee Fair, we're ready.
Moving this.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We're ready to go.
All right, this is the 286th meeting of the Finance Committee of the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District. Roll call, please.
All right, the record will note that trustees Fair and Nichols are present online. Trustees Evans, Wabi, and Watson are present in the room, and trustee Wilson let us know he had a conflict this morning.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes from November 29th?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. And with that, we'll move on to the portfolio update.
All right, thank you. It's a short agenda. I'll start with the monthly portfolio update. That's the grid with 4 squares. I'll start in the upper left with summary statistics. Our portfolio this month is up about 15 million from last month. That's primarily due to in December we start receiving property tax payments from city and county. So started getting those in, and so we have more to invest this month than we had the month prior. Yield to maturity increased about 25 basis points. It was a pretty significant increase for just 1 month since we only turn over a portion of our portfolio. We actually invested about $72 million new dollars this past month. Weighted average maturity, that was only about 4 months, so that was very short. But the yield to maturity was about 4.5%. A year ago, we were investing at that maturity at close to 0. So now it's about 4.5%. And which is why you see the benchmark being so high, because that entire portfolio turns over every month, and that 1 to 3-year treasury is in that 4.5 range. So The benchmark actually came down about 10 basis points as we're starting to see rates have stabilized and stopped going up as quickly as they were earlier in 2022, middle of 2022 especially. Weighted average maturity, our portfolio went down a little bit just because the new investments were short, and the benchmark was flat at about 1.8. Sector allocation, no surprises here. We are within the policy limits. Commercial paper, you can see, is butting up against the policy limit. We have to stay under pretty short there, usually under 6 months, and that's where we're finding the best yield right now. So that's kind of where we're investing. Fund summary, bottom left, no surprises there either. Most of the money is in the operations fund, and because we use some of our funds, that's why we have a different weighted average maturity than portfolio. And so the bottom right, you can see maturity distribution. We are the blue bars, and we have usually in that 40 to 50% of our funds invested just 0 to 1 years, because we'll use those to pay for projects and sometimes operations and that sort of thing. Any questions on portfolio update? Not, I'll move to the last item. I just have one resolution that I'm going to bring before you next month, and it is a request to add a bank to our approved depository bank list. This bank is First State Bank of St. Charles, and the reason that I'm requesting we add them is because we have a developer working on a project that wants to put up a letter of credit, and in order to accept a letter of credit, the bank has to be on our approved list. We did some work on this bank looking at their credit ratios, capital ratios, compared it to benchmarks, and they're a strong bank, good financials, they look good. So I recommend that we do add them to the approved list so that we can accept the letter of credit from the developer for this project. Any questions on that? All right, Trustee Fair, that is all I had for the finance meeting today.
Indeed, it was a short meeting. So if there is no further business, our next tentative meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 31st. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is concluded.
Trustee Evans will let you know when it reaches 8:15 so we can start the next meeting.
All right.
I don't get to say that very often, so you are.
Okay, we'll call order the Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Trustee Evans, Wabi, and Watson are present for trustee present on
All right, I've got no comments. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Tracy Coleman has a resolution.
Trustees, I'm going to present resolution, I guess it's 380, and we'll figure out the last number soon. This is for the reappointment of Civil Service Commissioner Reverend Michael Jones. Pursuant to Section 8.020 of the District Civil Service Charter, the commissioner should be reappointed by the board. This particular resolution would acknowledge that Reverend Michael Jones would be continuing a second term. We're going to make this effective going back to July 11th, 2022, and expiring on July 11th, 2025. Reason being is that Michael Jones was kind enough to, while we were looking for a commissioner, wasn't able to find one. He was kind enough to continue to help us out, volunteering his time, but now he's agreed to take on a second term. So we wanted to backdate it to the end of his original commission. Are there any questions about this particular resolution? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jonathan Sprague, ordinance regarding Oracle Cloud migration.
Yes, thank you, Board. There, in front of you should have a resolution, or an ordinance for a supplemental appropriation of $2.7 million for Oracle upgrade to the move to the cloud. This appropriates additional funds for temporary help and services necessary to implement this critical business system and its move to the cloud, the Oracle Fusion Cloud. We are asking for the additional $2.7 million to cover the cost of implementing the additional functionality, data migration, interfaces, as well as temp help needed to support the project within our time frame. The total appropriations to date for this work has been $7.9 million, and again, this will be for additional $2.7, which I'll kind of run through here and make sure you understand how we incurred these costs and why we need this money. About $800,000 of this $2.7 million is directly related to changes needed to provide functionality, additional data that was needed to support it that we didn't anticipate up front, the civil service rules and other things. So we have both changes in scope and additional data and interfaces that cost about $800,000. Of the original $7.9 million in appropriations, about $2 million of that was temporary help. So I'm going to break down what we were short on, largely short on temporary help. When we budgeted this a few years back, we looked at our historical costs for temporary help and budgeted an appropriate amount of temporary help. Since that time, there's been an inflation in IT costs. And additionally, we didn't anticipate that the especially nature of Oracle Cloud would also cost a premium for those temporary help personnel. So that additional inflation factor is about 20% on that $2 million. So that's another $400,000 in costs we've incurred in temporary help just by the fact that it costs more to hire the help we needed. So that's another $400,000, bringing us to about 1.2. Another factor in temporary help was that we underestimated the amount of effort needed to make this project go. We started about 6 weeks late. And additionally, we were told this could be done with about 50 to 60% of staff's time, and it's largely taken 80 to 100% of staff's time. So additional temp help has required some extra resources to get this project done. That accounts for about another $400,000 of temporary help. So we had the $800,000 plus the $400 plus the $400. And that's about $1.6 million, and that takes us to date on the changes in this contract. They'll take us through the end of this month, or through into February. But we also have about 3 more months to complete the appropriation, to complete the project, not the appropriation. This project is, anticipated to be done at the end of April. But additional to that, we have a payroll project as well. So in addition, we think we have looked forward for the next 4 months, and including the payroll project, and we believe that we're going to need an additional $500,000 to complete these projects up. So that brings us to $2.1 million. We've also built into this request in a contingency of another $600,000 based on the last year, scope increases, possible changes, any additional help. We don't want to come to the board one more time in June or something like that. So we've also built in a contingency. So we're asking an additional $2.7 million to complete this project, the Oracle Analytical Cloud, and the upcoming payroll project by the end of June in the scope we've allotted. Let me cover a couple other issues. One thing you might say is, all right, how does this impact the budget? We've talked to the finance director. This budget is funded out of the general fund, and we've forecasting for the end of this year a surplus of 12.9 million in the general fund. So this 2.7 million won't cause any budget crisis. We have the monies available. And lastly, then the board might say, all right, if we're asking for additional monies, is that a sign that this project is off track? And I will assure you that it is not. Between the late start and the scope increases, typically you have a, the triangle that says you have resources, schedule, and budget. Since we've had increases in scope, late start, we're holding our schedule very strict. We wanted this project done by the end of April because it's largely, a lot of it is financially oriented, and want to make sure that finance had this completed before they went into the new fiscal year, and so it wouldn't impact the upcoming fiscal year, and all this project can be completed. They could transition effectively. So we've held the schedule very firm. So with increased scope and a firm schedule, what has to give is cost, and that's what happened. But the project itself, we're meeting all the milestones. We're still scheduled to be complete on time, and everything is functioning
When is it
properly.
supposed to be, when's it supposed to be complete?
So the Oracle Cloud, the Oracle Analytical Cloud move is supposed to be done by the end of April, or in April. And the HR piece is supposed to be done in the February timeframe. So both those are still on track. The HR portion in February, the finance portion by April. There's still an additional payroll piece where we're moving to Kronos, moving payroll to the Kronos cloud version as well. And that will launch in probably as soon as the HR piece is done in March timeframe, and then should be completed in the August timeframe. August, September timeframe. So all those components are still in play, but the Oracle Analytical Cloud is projected, is on track. Everything's working as it should, and it should be done on time. Or it's just costing more than we
Will this
originally
be it
anticipated.
for a while?
This should be it. That's why we're asking for the additional 2.7, so we don't have to come back again. We're making sure we have the costs we believe that'll cover this project and a little bit more so that we don't come back one more time. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is a discussion by Marion G. regarding the Rate Commission Professional Services Contract.
Thank you. Good morning, trustees. I'm here to provide some information on some rate consultant services that the Rate Commission uses to complete its work, and also give you an update on the time schedule for the Rate Commission process. So the Rate Commission utilizes 3 consultants to assist with the work that they do. They utilize a legal consultant, rate consultant, and a public engagement consultant. The Commission's Technical Services Committee recently reviewed proposals for the rate consultant services and for legal services. The Rate Commission's budget was reviewed and approved by the board in June of 2023, and based on that budget, it was determined that there are sufficient funds to approve the contracts for these services. An RFP has been issued for the 3rd contract, which was the public engagement services, and it's anticipated to be awarded by March of 2023. If additional funds are needed for expenditures in excess of the approved Rate Commission's budget, we would be required to come back to the board and request additional funds. At this time, that is not anticipated to happen. The next Rate Commission meeting is scheduled for January the 20th. During that time, the Commission will select their officers. They will review their proposed rules and regulations and finalize their schedule for 2023. The district intends to provide its rate change proposal to the Commission by March of this year, March of 2023, with the final rate recommendations by the Commission to be provided to the board by October of this year. There's no additional board action that is being requested at this time. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we have closed session to discuss confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body and its auditor pursuant to section 610.021 subpart 17.
Tim, get his
Need a
microphone.
motion?
Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Please, Trustee Watson, Trustee Wabi,
Aye.
Trustee Nicholasison,
Yes.
Trustee Fair,
Yes.
Trustee Evans.
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session. Thank you.
take a vote to emerge from closed session?
Yep. All in favor?
So move.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're back in open session.
Okay, next tentative meeting date, Tuesday, January 31st. A motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.